None.
I was interested, when you were talking about the conflict back in World War II, I wanted to know what assurances they had that Hitler would attack Stalin, since they had signed a non-aggression pact, and therefore, what assurances do they have that China and the Soviet Union will become embroiled in a conflict? Because, at least in the Soviet Union, and I assume so also in China, they study history.
When they financed Hitler, one of the discussions was, what does this man, Hitler they called him at that time, what does this man Hitler want? What will he do? And because there was some discussion about whether they should back the communists in Germany. And then the agreement was to back the National Socialists because they could be manipulated into a war of revenge. At first the target was France, and then later it became the Soviet Union. They have no guarantee. They can make mistakes, and they've made many mistakes. There's no guarantee that you'll get conflict in 1990, 2000 between China and Russia. I mean, my argument is there's another way to look at this, that China, Peking, and Moscow, the people are not stupid. I'd back a Russian planner any day of the week against a Yale graduate. I mean, I know the Russians. I mean, a number of my books have been on Russia. They are very, very ingenious and capable men. The chances are that China and Russia will get together against the United States. That's what well could happen.
In other words, the best laid plans of the order
getting off the stray.
The best laid plans of the order
can go astray and have gone astray. They have no guarantees.
Well, these kingpins who move nations on their chessboards may one day find out that they themselves wind up in the jaws.
They will, or their children. Averell Harriman at 92 is not worrying, but some of them are.
Well, it seems to be the perpetual fate of the Sorcerer's Apprentice.
They're creating a monster, and
China, I don't know.
I don't think they realize it.
The Chinese will never be controlled by any Western minds. That is just a fact of the inscrutable East. Given power, they are probably the most clever of people on the planet. They only lack one thing, is power. And we are now giving it to them.
Financing and technology. I would agree with that. I think our plan, their plans, not ours. Their plans could go astray very easily.
Sure, because it's in the Soviets' interest and in Peking's interest to play the other two powers off against each other.
That's right.
So why should the order's plan succeed?
Sure. That's right.
Especially since, Antony, by that time, the Chinese and the Russians will know all about the order thanks to your books, and they will not be about to allow Wall Street or the power behind Wall Street to determine their fate.
I think they are aware of the power of the order. Who went to visit Andropov? It was Bush. It was Harriman. The U.S. ambassador never had a private audience with Andropov. They are aware. The thing is, how are they going to play on the awareness of the world public? Now this has become public. How are they going to use that? How can they manipulate that? And I think they could.
Well, their game is to tell us they're going to deliver us from our overlords.
Exactly.
From
so
our
we
gods.
better do it ourselves first before they do it for us, because otherwise we'd be replacing one monster with another one.
Well, we have to identify ourselves as Americans and realize that they're enemies of the people, both within and without this nation. I think that some of our people tend to consider those who are the betrayers of America as Americans, and therefore to be anti-American.
They don't think of themselves as Americans.
No, but our people, the common people, think that the members of the order in this country or the power elite are Americans, and then they tend to become anti-American or anti the elite.
That's a great mistake.
It is.
Because they may historically have come from the Pilgrim Fathers, but they gave up being Americans 50, 60, 70 years ago.
Maybe they never were.
Well, maybe they never were. That's another story. Maybe they never were.
Tony, does the order have a vested interest in the nuclear hysteria? And are they...
Oh, yes. They were there right from the start. The Manhattan Project, which was the United States project to develop the atom bomb. Stimson, a member of the order, was Secretary of Defense. His two assistants in charge of Manhattan Project were Harrison and McBundy. 3 members of the order started up the atomic project. When it came to target selection for dropping the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan, the order came along and wiped out certain targets. They didn't want, for example, Kyoto bombed. They've been there right from the start.
So,
and of course, to bring your question up to date, it's very useful as a means of creating a fear in people.
right, are they interested, or are they worried themselves about a nuclear war, or do they try to exploit the fear of global
I think it's
annihilation?
exploitation of the fear. I don't think they have any belief that one will come about.
What do they look upon their Soviet counterparts who are building underground bunkers, civil defense? Do they think this is a waste of time and money? Or?
Of course, you've got to look at it from the Soviet viewpoint. Why are the Soviets doing this? It's because they truly fear these people. You know, I'm about as anti-Soviet as you can get, but I'm not going to say that everything the Soviets think and do has no foundation. I think the Soviets really do believe that these people are a threat.
That the order is a threat? A threat to whom?
To their order. As a matter of fact, in fact, they have an order too. It's called the Brotherhood.
It's called the Brotherhood.
Yes, they have an order too within the Kremlin. That's why Chernyenko got the job, and not a much younger man. He's the last of the old members of the order. So you've got the Oxford situation, the group in England. You've got the order in the Soviet Union. You've got an order here.
Anywhere else?
Not that I've found so far. I'm interested what's behind all this. Because if you get, say, 500 members of the order today in the United States, there must be a smaller group. 500 don't get together and decide things. There must be a small inner group. I identify Averell Harriman undoubtedly as being the godfather, the chairman, but the others must be a dozen.
Who's the heir apparent to Abraham Harriman?
I would say Bush. My guess is Bush. My guess. But I don't know.
And would you say that President Reagan does not know this?
He does now. But he didn't 2 months ago.
How do you know that he knows?
Well, because I understand my newsletter goes to the White House, so I guess somebody told him. I know they told Mr. Bush. So I don't know how they're discussing it. My spies haven't told me yet what they're saying amongst themselves, but I shall find out sooner or later what they're saying.
Tony, we'd like to thank you for being with us at Summit University Forum.